Hello, I'm a United States government teacher, but there's been a lot of news lately about the upcoming election in Canada. So today we're going to break down the basics of Canadian government and politics for Americans. Canada will have a big election this year, sometime between now and October. What do you mean sometime? Isn't it on election day? Unlike America, Canadian elections don't always fall at the same time every 2 years. They have to have an election every 4 or 5 years, but can do so earlier if the Prime Minister or Parliament calls for it. Wait, who are these people? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the basics. Remember the three branches of the US government? We have a president, the Senate and the House of Representatives make up Congress, and the Supreme Court. The people get to elect the president, the Senate, and the House of Representatives at different intervals, and then the Supreme Court is chosen by the president and approved by the Senate. All of this sounding vaguely familiar? Alright, Canada is just like this, except instead of a president, it's a prime minister, and instead of a House of Representatives, it's the House of Commons, and their legislative branch is called Parliament and not Congress, and the House of Commons chooses the Prime Minister, not the people, and the Prime Minister gets to choose everything else. Okay, so it's nothing like our system. But since the Senate and the Supreme Court aren't elected and don't really matter, we'll skip over them for this video.
This is Democracy Manifest.
Basically what matters is who becomes Prime Minister, and you become Prime Minister by being the leader of the political party that won the most seats in the House of Commons. So these are the people that are being elected this year, and that brings us to Canadian political parties. So in America we have two major parties, the Democrats that are economically left-leaning and socially liberal, and the Republicans that are economically right-leaning and socially conservative. We also have other parties like the Libertarians and the Greens and the Socialists, but they're so tiny nobody really cares about them. Are you with me so far? No. Perfect. Canada also has two main parties. First up, the Liberal Party, who as their name implies, are generally more liberal on social issues and left-leaning on economic issues. Think of them as Canada's Democratic Party. The Liberals have been led by this guy, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for the last decade. His dad was a very famous politician as well, drawing some comparison to being like a liberal George W. Bush. However, he has announced that he will be stepping down as party leader, so sometime soon they will choose somebody to replace him. The other main party is the Conservative Party, who, again, are generally more conservative on social issues and right-leaning on economic issues. Think of them as Canada's Republican Party. The Conservatives are currently led by this guy, Pierre Poilievre, a relatively young, quick-witted politician from Ontario. I don't have a great comparison for him from America, maybe like a Ben Shapiro type. Most likely, one of these two parties will win the most seats in the House of Commons, and then the Prime Minister will be either Pierre Poilievre or whoever the Liberals choose. However, there are some minor parties that are more relevant than any of the other US parties because they actually win some seats, and we'll go through those briefly. The only other party that can come even close to being the biggest party is the New Democratic Party, or NDP. NDP is a very progressive, kind of socialist party. I like to think of them as the Bernie Sanders types for Canada. They usually get 10% or so of the seats in the House of Commons and have never elected a prime minister, though they do compete all across the country. Their current leader is this guy, Jagmeet Singh, an Indo-Canadian from the West Coast. The closest American comparison to him is probably like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The other kind of big party is called Bloc Québécois, and represents some of the French speakers in Canada's French-speaking province, Quebec. They're confusing politically because they lean left on some economic issues, but right on some social issues, and mostly care about local stuff, so we'll just put them here. Because they are a regional party and only run in Quebec, their leader, François Blanchet, I know my French is amazing, has basically no chance to become prime minister. Their situation is pretty unique, and there isn't really an American comparison. The last two parties are really small and only win a couple seats. The Green Party really care about the environment and are kinda left-wing but also sometimes promote conspiracies. They're led by Elizabeth May, who is basically just Canada's Jill Stein. And the People's Party, led by Maxime Bernier, are a far-right alternative to the Conservatives. They're kinda like if Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene had a political party. So that's it. An election for the House of Commons will happen this year, and most likely the leader of the Liberals or Conservatives will become Prime Minister, although there are 4 other smaller parties. Comment below what you think of Canada's political system, and thanks for watching. And yes, this will be on the test.